Homework answers to page 374 and 375. Number 1, the blue is y equals 4 sine x plus 2. The red is the second one, y equals 2 cosine x minus 4. And green graph is y equals negative sine x plus 4. So just freeze that, check your graphs with this, and then again I'll go back and explain things if you need explanation. Number 2, blue is y equals 4 cosine x plus 1, and red is y equals negative cosine x minus 4. And they intersect at the 2 points here, negative pi, negative 3, and positive pi, negative 3. Number 3, a equals 7 and c equals 2. Number 4, a equals 12, c equals 18. 5, the range is negative 13, comma 7. 6, negative 6, comma 10. I'm sorry, that was 5b. 5c, 8, comma 52. And then multiple choice, number 6 is 4, number 7 is 3. Okay, so you can stop the video if you were good with the homework. Otherwise, continue watching for explanations. Okay, so y equals 4 sine x plus 2. So the first thing we always do is draw the midline, right? So the midline is the c value 2. So I've got this dashed blue midline. And then sine, the a value is 4. So this sine is always going to start on the midline. And then at 2 pi, it'll end on the midline. Midway between, it's on the midline. Now between 0 and pi radians, it's going to get up to a height of 4 units above the midline. So we count up 4. And then between pi and 2 pi, it'll be 4 units below the midline. And it's symmetric with the origin. In red, y equals 2 cosine x minus 4. So we draw the midline, negative 4. And cosine starts off the midline. In this case, the a value is 2. So I start 2 above the midline. At 2 pi, it's going to be at that same height. And midway between 0 and 2 pi radians, it's going to be 2 units below the midline. And cosine is symmetric with the y-axis. It's even. In green, we have y equals negative sine x plus 4. We draw the midline of y equals 4. The a value is negative 1. So sine does start on the midline. At 2 pi, it's going to be on the midline. And midway between, at pi radians, it's going to be on the midline. The a value is negative 1. So between 0 and pi radians, you're going to go down 1 from the midline. And then between pi and 2 pi, up 1 from the midline. So here we have our sine graph. Number 2, graph and label both of the curves below, then state their intersection points. Y equals 4 cosine x plus 1. Well, our midline is y equals 1. So I draw that in blue. The a value is 4. Cosine starts off the midline. So in this case, 4 units above the midline is where it starts. And it's going to, at 2 pi, it's going to be at that same height. and midway between 0 and 2 pi, so at pi radians, it will be 4 units below the midline. And it's symmetric with the y-axis, so simply reflect those points over. In red, we have y equals negative cosine x minus 4. Midline is negative 4. We draw the midline of negative 4. The a value is negative 1. Cosine starts off the midline, so from the midline, it's starting 1 unit down. At 2 pi, it's going to be at that same height. So this is the min. At 2 pi, it's at that same min. In this case, negative 5. And midway between 0 and 2 pi radians, at pi radians, it will be 1 above the midline. So it will be at its max. And the two graphs intersect at these 2 points as stated before. And again, please, whenever you have more than one graph on a grid, especially here when you're asked to actually solve the system of equations, please make sure you are labeling your equations with, your graphs with their equations. You'll see at the top of page 375, these are the formulas you need to know, right? A is max minus min divided by 2. C is max plus min divided by 2. And range is C plus or minus the absolute value of A. So the following graph can be described using an equation of the form y equals a cosine x plus c. Determine the values of A and C. Show how you arrived at your answers. A is right there, taking the formula. Right? Our max is 9. Our min is negative 5. So 9 minus negative 5 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. C, max plus min divided by 2, 9 plus negative 5 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. Number 4, same question. Our max here for this question is 30, and the min is 6. 30 minus 6 divided by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 30 plus 6 divided by 2. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So, number 5, state the range of each of the following sinusoidal functions in interval form. Well, range, remember, is C plus or minus the absolute value of A. Again, you have to have those 3 things memorized. Our C value is negative 3, and A is 10, so negative 3 plus or minus 10. It can also be thought of as if we're here at negative 3 and we go up 10, we'll be at a positive 7. If we're at negative 3 and go down 10, we'll be at negative 13. So negative 13, comma 7. 2 plus 8 will give us our max of 10. And then the 2 minus 8 gives us our max of, I'm sorry, I don't have that in well, absolute values, probably what I should have done there. 2 minus 8 gives us negative 6. 30 plus 22, 30 minus 22, 8, 52. When graphed, the line y equals 14 would not intersect the graph of which of the following functions. Basically, it went through the 4 choices, right? With choice 1, the C value is 9, so I'm finding the range. What's the minimum? It would be 9 minus the A value, which is 4. The maximum would be 9 plus the A value. 9 plus 5 is 14. So the line y equals 14 would intersect this graph. Choice 2, C plus or minus the absolute value of negative 6. So, not sure if I said that correctly, but 10 plus 6 is 16. 10 minus 6 is going to be 4. 3, 15 plus 2 is the max of 17. And 15 minus 2 is 13. So 14 is definitely fits in between those. 14 fits in between 4 and 16, and 14 is on 14. So it's got to be this one, that the line y equals 14 would not intersect. 20 plus 3 is 23, 20 minus 3 is 17, right? So this range is from 17 to 23, which 14 is not within that range. Which of the following functions has a maximum value? Well, the max is your c plus your absolute value of a, has a maximum value of 25. So if I take c, 12 plus 25, that gives me 37. That's not it. The c value of 35 plus the absolute value of 10, or sorry, the absolute value of negative 10 is 10. 35 plus 10 is 45. C plus the absolute value of A, 17 plus 8 is 25. So option 3.